The value of freedom talk came very clear to me in this meeting. Of course, there's this discussion in somewhat of a deep divide between the people in Alberta who think Alberta should stay in Canada versus the people who think, why would you stay in a country that doesn't like you and won't buy your oil? So let's get out of it. And I think, especially with the help of some of the people from outside Alberta, like Derek Sloan and Maxime Bernier, they are bringing a message of compromise that is a good message, and that is that before Alberta even thinks about separating from Canada, they should exhaust all the possibilities for taking control over the things they can under the Constitution, which is extensive. It is the police, it is immigration, it is healthcare, it is education, it is all the things that the federal government's got its mitts in that aren't even included in our Constitution. They are provincial priorities in many cases, or at least in every case that I just mentioned, the province has the right to take those things over and do them themselves to be more independent from the federal government. And I believe that if Alberta exhausted all those possibilities, that then is the time to have a debate about whether Alberta should stay in Confederation or go on its own. I did point out, of course, that if Alberta did separate, it would still be in a situation where there's 65 other countries that are smaller than Alberta would be as a country, that are members of the United Nations. Panama and Alberta have about the same population. And nobody thinks of Panama as being a tin pot place. I mean, it's a proper country. And Cuba, you know, not in terms of population, but Cuba has a smaller GDP than Alberta does, even with 3 times as many people. So Alberta would certainly be a viable country. And I also pointed out that of the 34 countries that have joined the United Nations since 1990 as new countries, 34 new countries have emerged, all because of the breakup, nearly all because of the breakup of 3 other countries, the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. All those new countries were part of those countries. So if Alberta left Canada, it would be no exception on a global basis. Lots of countries have resulted in the breakup of other countries, either for mutual reasons, like the Czech Republic and Slovakia, which are now separate countries. They just agreed with each other that they had different priorities and it would work better for both of them if they separated. And this is likely true with Alberta in the future, unless Ottawa changes its mind, unless the Laurentian elite, as they call, I never even knew that term until a few years ago, but that's who's been running the place apparently all these years. And I've been a quiet Western alienated person all my life. I've known all my life that I had no say in this country's future, but I kind of like the country. Well, that changed a little while back, and now I'm a full-blown separatist in my mind, in the sense that we're not part of this country in any real sense, in having any say in it. So I think that's the way it might go in the future. And let's just say if one thing happened, if Eastern Canada would buy Alberta oil instead of oil from Nigeria and Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and the North Sea, then I might reconsider. Just that one thing, because that one thing would make Alberta whole again. Eastern Canada uses a lot of oil, more oil than all the rest of Canada put together, because there's more of them than there is all the rest of us put together. So if the Eastern Canadians would agree to the Eastern Pipeline, then and take the oil from the West, instead of calling it dirty and all the other oil okay. Well, now they want to get rid of oil altogether, but that's never going to happen. We all know that. Well, except for those guys. I don't know where they got that idea. But if they did that, then I would start to reconsider if they would treat Alberta like one of their children instead of treating them the way they are. Instead of abusing them like they are. the federal government is abusing the West. And they've always been able to abuse the East, because the East is like, you know, not beggars, but you know what I mean, they're not too well off. And they depend on the federal government's departments and everything for their existence almost. Danny Hozak is one man. He is a wonderful person. He's a unique person. He's got such a spirit, and he's willing, as a farmer from Alberta, raising cows, to do this sometimes twice a year. Last year there were 2 of these meetings, and he has so many followers, and he's not biased one way or another himself. He's a conduit through which we can all work together to come to some conclusions, and he's so open-minded a person. He's my hero, and in a way it's a good thing there aren't 5 or 6 of him. They would control the world. Danny is I just say Danny is a beauty. I think Freedom Talk is the central place for this meeting of minds among people who are trying to figure out this extremely complex dilemma. The dilemma of Western alienation and the dilemma of the centralized power in the country that means we're chopped liver out here in the West. And it's as simple as that. And it's been that way for too long, and something's got to give. And so the idea of provinces taking on all of the authority that they're given in the Constitution instead of letting Ottawa continue to control it. And that includes the police force and immigration and health and education and a lot of very important aspects of daily life that could be made more local and would basically empower Albertans to be in more control of their own destiny. And that's what this is all about.